Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Oh, look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHI Media Network. It's the 5th of November. I'm sorry, the 3rd of November. If it was the 5th, I would have a whole different lineup to talk about tonight. That'll be Wednesday, the next show, at 8 p.m. Pacific right here on the SHI Media Network and simulcast over at KLRN Radio. Got a lot to talk about this evening. Good evening to Ricky and chat. Good evening to the chatters. See how talented I am when I can do two things at once like that? I can talk and work a slider. Practically a phenom, never get credit for it. Get a ton to talk about. First thing I got to talk about, which I look, there's a ton of news. Tomorrow's going to be a lot of elections we're going to talk about. It's a big day, elections. The government's still closed. There's a judge forcing Trump to pay for SNAP. All this stuff going on. But I think this story is going under the headlines. And if it's true, which I think it is this time, and I'm going to get into why, I think this is probably the biggest story of the week. Allegedly, Nancy Pelosi, per NBC News and a couple other outlets, including SHI Media, if you want to go check out the story, is stepping down at the end of her next term. She will not seek re-election. Why is that big? Well, obviously, it's Nancy Pelosi. But, Cosmic Bar, good evening, sir. Thank you very much for being here. But what's actually big about this, and I know a lot of people have that first gut reaction of, oh, thank God she's going, right? Ding dong. She's out. The witch is gone, however you want to put it. She's riding her broom stick off into the sunset. And that was my first reaction because, let's be honest, Nancy Pelosi has been Nancy Pelosi for, 4 decades now in Congress? And she's only served Nancy Pelosi. But this time, she has somebody waiting behind her who's already said he's going to run, and that's Scott Wiener, the uber California progressive. You may know him from such state laws as it's okay for somebody to randomly take your child out of school. Oh, pedophile isn't really a crime. It's okay if teachers, transition your kids behind your back. That's Scott Wiener. I'm not going to show his picture. I know everyone wants to jump on a whole bunch of other parts of his life. His politics are more than enough. And you might ask yourself, why would she do this? And somebody actually did ask me that today. And I said, well, you have to look at how Nancy Pelosi is. She's a narcissist, right? She's all about Nancy. We all know that. The last time she was speaker, she had a hard time with the squad. The squad kept stepping out of line. Everybody started talking about it. That's never happened to Nancy before. Never. She's never not been able to keep the Democrats in the House in line. And then obviously she eventually, Hakeem Jeffries took over. She was still hanging around. There's the whole January 6th thing, which does look incredibly bad for her. But she's still hanging around. She mentioned at one point during the Biden administration, I think, that she was thinking of retiring. But she's still with us. But now you have to look at the Democratic Party. You have to look at what's going on in New York. Right? There's a good chance a Islamo-communist is going to end up being the mayor of that city. There's a good chance. We're going to talk about that in a minute, too. The options there are just garbage. So, and you have all of these Democrats who are getting behind the Mandami movement. And I said last week, I don't know if it'll last. I think this is them testing the waters to see where bigger cities are and how progressive the party is to get all behind Mondami. And if he loses, they're going to talk about how it was racism and Islamophobe and all that other stuff, right? They had a defense. They had something to jump behind. Mike, good evening in chat, Mike. So they have that defense to fall back on. But the Democrats are using that Mondami's campaign as the canary in the coal mine. They want to see how toxic it can be before people walk away, because their ideal goal is socialism. That's where they really want to go with it. That's what the progressive left, the 20% that still approves of them, wants to go with it. And Pelosi knows that. And she does not, I think, want her legacy tied to that. Like I said, she's all about Nancy. So she hasn't had a good couple months. She's been proven wrong in a couple of things. I just think she thinks it's time. Walk away before you get pushed out because they want to bring a Scott Wiener. And she's not going to make the announcement allegedly until after tomorrow with Prop 50 in California, which I'm still not convinced will pass. It's going to be close, but I don't think it's going to go. So that's why Nancy's going, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice before, but not very often. And I think when it comes to reading narcissistic politicians, I've gotten pretty good at it. So let's talk about New York. I was going to talk about that later, but I kind of had a good lead into it. The big election tomorrow. Mondami is still leading the race, and there's a bunch of elections we're going to talk about that are happening tomorrow. Cuomo's not a real big close second place. Cuomo's, I don't know, 8-9 points behind, depends on which poll you look at. And Siwa's all the way down at the bottom. And you have to ask, and by the way, the amount of Jewish support that Mondami, who all of the things that he said that was anti-Israel and anti-Jews, he had what, the trans religious, Jewish religious leader, I don't know if she was officially a rabbi or not, in a commercial. It's boggling my mind. I talk about, we talked about deprogrammed Democrats with Lisa Ekman on my show a couple weeks ago. You have to realize that shame is a major part of the Democrats' plan. Shame is huge. And they know, especially these days, that voters are more emotional than they've ever been. And they are, on both sides of the aisle, admittedly. The Democrats, when they start to focus on the area and they really push that shame card, and then they push he grew up a poor immigrant, he didn't, he was fucking loaded his whole life. He's never had a real job. He's from Uganda, devout Muslim, has been linked to so many horrible people and groups. He is unbelievably the wrong person for New York City for so many different reasons. The city where 9/11 happened. Oh, Sean, that's Islamophobic. No. If he just happened to be Muslim running and he never really talked about it, and he didn't have all of these videos and all of these statements that were questionable and sad and bad, and taking pictures with people who, plotted the first World Trade Center bombing, I really don't think most people would care. I mean, it would come up. There's always going to be people that bring it up. The Phantom's in chat. Mission Ready Men's in chat. BZ's in chat. Chat's starting to fill up. You can chat too, shimmedia.com. You can just scroll down to the bottom. You'll see the YouTube video playing. Then you can just click on it and jump in the chat with the rest of us. So, and then you have, I don't know how this happens. He's running against Andrew Cuomo, which I'll tell you right now, if you're Mayor Adams right now, you have to just be like, look, I know I didn't have it great, but what the fuck did I do to get pushed out by these two? How? If you're Eric Adams, let's not even talk about Curtis Siwa. If you're Eric Adams, you have to be just banging your head on the wall right now. You had to go and endorse Cuomo, of all people? Cuomo, you had to. You didn't have a choice. Holy shit. But yeah, you have Mario Cuomo, who, let's face it, handled COVID so incredibly bad. Elderly people died in mass numbers as a result. There's no way around it. And then he had to leave office because he was sexually harassing women. And he's number 2. Again, Eric Adams has to be like, what in the absolute fuck did I do? Like, I know I wasn't great, but come on. And then, Curtis Sewa, the head of the Guardian Angels, his father was murdered when he was young. He's always been an activist in the city. Not a bad guy. But he ran down this road before. He's just, for whatever reason, not electable in New York City. And that doesn't mean anything bad about him. But the people there, even before all of this, were not a big fan of him. I think didn't he lose to the guy who wore the rubber boot on his head, the rat something or other, the rodent king or the rodent emperor, whatever his name was. The rent's too damn high. That guy. Didn't he lose to him before? Yeah, 11,000 plus deaths from mass murder Cuomo. And allegedly, before the lawsuit comes, and he's number 2. It goes to show you that when you get into a city like New York, when you get into a city like LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Chicago, look at what Chicago's done with the last mayor, right? Brandon Jacobs is a bigger leftist, lunatic, asshole, moron than Fishface was. And she was bad. She was really bad. But they elected him. He even said, what kills me is they're all telling you. They're all fucking telling you who they are. Mondami is telling you who they are. We want to publicize the grocery stores and have them open up our own and compete with other people. What? That's called socialism, and it failed recently in Kansas City, Missouri? Oh, we're going to, raise rent. Oh, we're going to try to take some private property so the city can control it. What? Free buses. He's worse than a fucking kid running for high school president. No charging for lunches, free extra days off, all this shit that he cannot, as a student, promise. And the guy's never had a job to speak of. His most famous moment is when he should have been arrested for pushing the police officer when he was yelling at the guy who's in charge of immigration there. Tom Holman. That was his biggest moment, and he should have been arrested. I'll tell you right now, when I was a cop, that dude pushed me 5 or 6 times like that. He would have went. That would have been it. Yeah, I know you're excited the first few times. I'm going to give you a warning, tell you maybe you want to go stand on the other side. Maybe you want to back up. You can't control yourself. Yeah, come from 5th or 6th time you chest bump me, it's game over. But that's neither here nor there. So those 3 are who New York has. And look, I wish they'd vote for Curtis Sewa, to be completely honest. I think New York needs a Curtis Sewa like they needed Giuliani. I think he'd actually be good for the city. I have my issues with Curtis Sewa, but I don't think that he is at all a bad person or he has bad intentions, or I don't really think he's even a narcissist like the rest of them. I mean, he's on some level, all politicians are. I mean, I am. Look at me. I'm sitting here thinking you care about what I'm fucking saying. But reality is, I think he's the most honest soul out of the 3 parties. But the moderate Democrats and some Republicans are forced into this situation where they have to back the guy who's forced 11,000 plus elderly people in a nursing home, refused federal help, didn't use the hospital ships, was a complete shit show of a governor, and they're going to elect him as mayor, or he's their best choice. That is their best choice for the moderates right now in New York. The not as progressive as the Islamo-communist. It's going to be fucking interesting. New Jersey's also tomorrow, governor of New Jersey. That race is super tight. And it's going to be interesting, but I think Chiarelli's going to pick it out. I think he really is. I think that the last week or so has shown a lot of promise for him. I confirmed I'm a narcissist. Yeah, No, I mean, Cosmic Bod, look at all of us who are broadcasters, right? All of us, I don't care where you're broadcasting, unless you were begged to do it, right? You're a little bit of a narcissist. And that's all right. That's okay. Yeah, that's great when it's not your show, but the reality of the situation is until he's charged with it and convicted of it, oh yeah, much like the allegations that Seth Moulton made against Trump this week. Did you hear about that? We covered it on SHR Media. Seth Moulton, the Democrat from Massachusetts, who's trying to run against Ed Markey and steal the seat, turned around and said, oh yeah, well, we all know Trump's a pedophile pretty much. What he did to those young girls on MSNBC. Yeah, that's illegal. Can't do that. You can't openly accuse somebody like or say it in such a manner that is definitive, like it's not open when you have zero evidence whatsoever. So you have that going on. You have New Jersey going on. Jersey Joe wrote a great article on SHR Media talking about Virginia, and this sums it right up. It's actually a great article that he wrote. Oh, would help if I picked the right one. Share this tab, dummy. There we go. How bad is Virginia and New Jersey Democratic candidates doing that the DNC had to drag Obama out into the trail? That's right. Once again, Obama, who scolded Democrats for not supporting black women, has come out to support Spanberger and Virginia, another close race. This I hope Winsome Sears can pick it out. Winsome Sears, who, by the way, is a veteran, I believe an immigrant, did it the right way. Parents did it the right way. And the current lieutenant governor, who also happens to be a black woman. And yeah, Obama had zero time for her. It's all about party first. So that's just who Obama is. That's always who he has been. That Obama is one of the whole reasons why the country is in the fucking mess that it is in right now. It's the whole reason why we need to turn around and do a lot of work still. Contrary to all the fighting that we're seeing on social media, and this person said this and this person said that. And I'll tell you right now, if you're on social media and you're worried about who two people who are kind of irrelevant at the moment are screaming at each other or talking about, and everybody's mad about this, if you're a conservative and you're fighting with other conservatives over something that's kind of like, if you just don't like it, turn it off. And yeah, I think Nick Fuentes is a fucking retard. I'll be the first one on. No person who praises Hitler and Stalin or America first, because Hitler and Stalin are both as anti-American as you can possibly get. So, but that whole, I'll tell you, all you guys who are out there arguing about this are playing right into the Democrats' hand. The day before an election, once again, all of this came up. A couple days before an election, all of this just happened to hit social media. You got to ask yourself a question: why? Who pushed it to begin with? Absolutely ridiculous. It's just it blows my mind how we can have most of the power in Congress, the executive. We as a nation should be working towards unifying and fixing a lot of shit. And we're ignoring so much important shit, like, Trump putting pressure on I can't think of the country right now in Africa to stop Boko Haram from persecuting and committing a genocide against Christians. That should be a huge story. And it's not. That was barely covered. But everything about this Nick Fuentes thing, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. It tells you how annoying it's been for me the last 2 days watching that on social media. Let's see. So back to Virginia. Emerson College poll shows, and Emerson College is not a conservative friendly poll, shows Winsome Sears within 2 points. The whole race is within 2 points. The last Roanoke poll for Biden approval rating was Spanberger's Nigeria. Yes, thank you, Cosmic Bard. I had not planned to talk about that at all, so it was all off the cuff. The last approval for Biden in Virginia was at 38% of the Roanoke poll. She thought it was going to be a runaway, and now the J. Joe thing's porked her, and rightfully so. I'm glad. Don't get me wrong, but this is what happens when you try to constantly pick the next Obama and the Democrat Party, and you end up with a monster. And that's what happened there. I'll tell you right now, if Spanberger loses, Jones is the cause. He disgusted enough Democrats to either stay home or vote for Winsome Sears. Because even though you currently have a Republican governor in Virginia, the numbers are not incredibly strong for the Republicans up in the northern part of Virginia, Arlington, and around DC. Couple different things that are affecting this, I think. Lot of government employees that live in Virginia, that work in DC and the surrounding area for the feds, the shutdown. All of those people, and we know that the unions have been pushing the Democrats to open. The unions are deep blue. We all know that. And the Democrats aren't opening it because they're afraid to show Obamacare, and I'll talk about that in a second. But as a result, a lot of people are pissed off at Democrats. Cosmic Bard said, for someone that isn't political, I know a bunch. Must be the alien side of me. Yes, it is the alien side of you. Thank you so much, Cosmic Bard. But yeah, you start getting into that, and you start looking and digging down further. You got to think that Spanberger was begging the Democrats to open the government back up, because now you have these people who've been sitting home for over a month because the Democrats won't sign a continuing resolution that was clean. It was clean. It was the spending limits we were at before. It was it was a no-brainer, and the Democrats fucked it up. And if Winsome Sears holds on and wins in Virginia, I think that's going to be something that's going to be looked at. Honestly, a lot of federal employees in New York too. There's a lot of federal buildings there. There's a lot of federal stuff for people who aren't getting paid. That could hurt them in New York too. That could be the tide change for New York, because the Democrats all jumped behind Mondami in the last month. Both of those could be affected by the shutdown. And then finally, the last big race, and there's other races. I'm not saying there's not other races, but I'm just talking about the ones that are getting the attention, is Prop 50 in California. Prop 50 in California. As I said before, Prop 50 is literally nothing, and I mean nothing, but a political tool for Gavin Newsom. Look, you have the Supreme Court deliberating the Voters' Right Act. We're probably going to get a return anytime now. They may be waiting till after this 4th, just so it's not tied into politics. They've done that before. If the Voting Right Act gets repealed, or parts of it, the redistricting is going to change in a ton of states. The wash with California and Texas will be nothing. It's going to be nothing, and they all knew that. This wasn't a shock. The Supreme Court docket gets made up months in advance, as we all know. They knew this was going to be on the docket. They knew what was going to be on the docket. They can look at the precedents legally and say, yes, you cannot divide up by race. That is against all of our equality laws. It goes against the Civil Rights Bill. To select things by race is something that was supposed to stop. And they're going to look at that and say, yeah, this article, I think it's Article 3 in the Voters' Right Act, we got to strip that out. And like I said before, that means you're going to get 14 and 19 seats for Republicans nationwide. So no matter what, the 5 and 5 washout doesn't matter. They knew that. They still needed to put something up, because this guy cannot do it all by himself. Listen to this.
Nothing I dislike more than the politician that sits there and lies to you. And we all just sit there rolling our eyes going, give me a break. Nothing I dislike more than the politician that sits there.
Look at his face. Look at the amount of grease that's coming off of him as he says this.
And lies to you. And we all just sit there rolling our eyes.
Okay. Now, just so everyone knows, that's Gavin Newsom, who has lied so much in his political career. It's not even funny. And I do have a great, just quick comparison of some of my favorites from Gavin Newsom. And I just got to find it really quick because it's here somewhere. Let's see. Here it is. Just in case you're wondering who Gavin Newsom is.
California. 101 consecutive months of net job growth. California. We're not debating deficits anymore. We now are debating the sizes of surpluses. There's 134,000 human beings out on the streets and sidewalks.
Yeah, and Gavin's lied more times, honestly, more times than I've eaten steak, which is quite a bit. And that's just publicly. We all know. I mean, look, Gavin Newsom, when Kamala Harris texted him, and I know BZ has the shirt because we saw it the other day, and it was essentially asking him for help. He was like, yeah, I'm hiking. I can't take your call right now. Or she called him. That's right. It's unbelievable. You look at what happened with the fires in LA. I'm on the phone with the president right now when we all knew he wasn't on the phone with the president. He is the biggest shitbag politician. He makes used car salesmen look like fucking priests. I mean, it is amazing to me the level of just ilk and swarminess that is Gavin Newsom. And then he's going to come out and say something like that and expect people to believe him. And guess what? In California and many other, all the other states, there are going to be Democrats that vote for him if he wins the primary, just because he's got a D next to his name. Zero principles whatsoever. Say a couple chats before we go into the break. Where do these mannerisms come from? Has he always had these gesticulations? I don't know. It seems like Big E in the chat said that. It seems like it's gotten worse the more attention he gets. Like the more he's been on the forefront lately, the more he does the whole if somebody walked up to you and it wasn't the governor of California and was in your face doing all of that while they were talking, your first response would be like, dude, you're going to get to rehab, right? I mean, you're clearly not in control of your body. There's clearly some other stimulant on board. You got to go. You got to go. You got to go fix yourself. Now, I do have another Gavin video. Hold on, because I do want to play this too. Another unbelievable lie just after he said, or just before he said what he said about, I don't like politicians that lie. You got this.
Of serving as president until January of 2029?
Yeah, I think my focus was frankly situational. It was making sure Donald Trump didn't get back into office to experience everything that we're experiencing today. And there was no interaction I had that suggested otherwise.
Okay. We all know he met with Biden a few times. And the question was, did you ever notice Biden was in decline? We know he met with Biden a few times during the campaign. He campaigned for him. He went out to the White House to meet with him. And he's lying about what everybody has since admitted. It's like, oh yeah, no, everybody knew Joe was fucked up. He wasn't all right. And he just lied. In the same interview that he gave the last statement on, he lied. I didn't see anything. And I was just focused on the goal. Okay, so you weren't focused on a president in decline. You would have put his ass in office and risked the entire country. You knew he was in decline. You'd met with him. You'd have risked everything just to keep Trump out of office. Gotcha. That's who you are. But don't say that you're not going to lie because you went out and told everyone he was fine then. Oh, fuck. Newsom owns stock in asbestos because liar pants on fire. The Cosmic Bard in the chat. Mussolini. Yep, he is Mussolini. Yeah, he cleaned up San Francisco for China. Mike Pasqua in the chat. Thanks, Mike. I should have brought that up a long time, Macarena. Yeah, no, that's another thing he did too. And he cleaned up because the Chinese president was coming. He completely wiped down San Francisco so it looked nice for the Chinese president. Like it, and then it turned into a shithole immediately afterwards. And it's still a mess. He still touches San Francisco is beautiful. It doesn't matter if they have poop mats. None of that stuff matters. So, and he's just a liar. Last chat before break. You're wondering who I am. Secret. I've got the secret machine and mannequin. I'm not singing that. From the Phantom. Up against the break. Hey, do me a favor, wherever you're watching from, please like and subscribe. If you're watching over on KLRN, like and subscribe as well. I got more stories to talk about, more topics to talk about right after this.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHI Media Network. Saw BZ's commercial. He's on tomorrow night in this time slot right here on SHI Media. And he will be covering all the results of the big elections that happen tomorrow. So make sure you check him out tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHI Media Network. Responses to me not singing for the Phantom. Of course, you have Cosmic Bard who said, "Sing, monkey." Phantom was expressing herself, was very much not happy that I didn't continue to sing. And the Cosmic Bard said, "I have 4 parts of my next radio play on KLRN for someone to sing. Not going to be me, sir. Not going to be me." So I wrote an article on SHR Media. I wrote 2 op-eds. One of them about Obamacare and SNAP and how both systems are absolutely just a shit show right now. And they need complete reform top to bottom. Obamacare needs to go away. We all know that. And SNAP needs to be worked out top to bottom. We got to fix that as well. And then I also, speaking of Obamacare, I wrote an op-ed on SHR Media today. I finished it today. About Cloward Piven. If you don't know about Cloward Piven and the Cloward Piven strategy. You know, the first time I talked about that in Sackheads in 2013, I did the exact same thing and screwed up, got my merds mixed up, if you will. But the whole Cloward Piven strategy, now I'm not going to be able to say it right for the rest of the night. I'm going to get it wrong every time. Was essentially to overload the welfare systems in America to the point that they crash, and essentially socialism, communism is your only alternative. Get everybody onto the system so it's so big you can never undo it. Get everybody so ingrained in the system that they're so uncomfortable you can never undo it. Obamacare is the epitome, not of me, of the Cloward Piven strategy. Because even though the government doesn't really run it, the government runs it. It's on the state level. That's where all the exchanges were. I went back and I looked at how many shows we talked about when Obamacare was in the works. And I think it was 8 or 9, where we specifically said it will crash. It will get so expensive. BZ was on plenty of them. It will get so expensive that people won't be able to afford it. And the ultimate goal is the single payer system, i.e. socialized medicine. That's what they want. That's what the goal was. When Obamacare was passed, we were all saying this. And now here we are talking about, well, we have to extend these subsidies for Obamacare because it's so fucking expensive. People aren't going to be able to afford it. Yeah, we know. We knew this was going to happen. We absolutely knew this was going to happen. And y'all did nothing about it, fuckers. You had all this time. You had all of this time. But you didn't want to do anything about it. You wanted it to get here. And now, because the Republicans aren't giving in, which, look, hats off, because I figured they would have gave in by now. But the Republicans haven't given in, and it's forcing the Democrats to talk about Obamacare and how bad because we pardon making fun of my talks. I laugh because it took me a year to say habitability. No, I get it. Trust me, I get it. So yeah, now the shutdown's forcing Obamacare to come to light, and all the subsidies. Look, I mean, COVID saved it in a lot of ways because we were just spending so much freaking money up front that the thought of adding all that money for the subsidies offset wasn't a big deal at that time. It should have been, but it wasn't. And now we're here now where they're about to expire, and they don't want to get to that next argument. They don't want to pass this CR because then they're going to get exposed. All of Obamacare is going to get exposed. Jersey Joe did a great article on Obamacare on SHR Media. We've been writing a lot of articles, so if you're not checking them out at SHR Media, please check them out because there's some great articles up there. Big E wrote a great op-ed earlier this week or later last week. He's getting a couple articles up there now, so if you haven't had a chance, check them out. But let's talk about Obamacare. On average, the Obamacare premiums are up 18% year over year. 18%. I am not the only one who's going to say this. I know a bunch of other people have said it before me. Before Obamacare, I had reasonable cost, reasonable amounts of service that I got with my healthcare plan. When Obamacare passed, the very next year, it went up by about 10%. And I got half as many services covered. I had great coverage. And it's only got worse from there. I tell this story all the time. I paid at my last job, I paid for the Cadillac plan because I'm a big believer of I'd rather pay a little bit more every single month than get hit with that big bill when something happens. I'd rather just do it's just the way I am. I'm always that way. I'd rather just give a little more now than pay the big chunks. Blah, blah, blah. When I got hurt at my last job and I had to have surgery, and because it wasn't workers' comp, I had to have surgery out of pocket. That surgery cost me $10,000 out of pocket because of the coinsurance or the deductible. Sorry, because of the deductible, $10,000. That's what I had to pay with the Cadillac plan that I paid almost like $300 a month for just me. So that's the biggest problem. ACA enrollment is at a record high, but 70% receive heavy subsidies in Obamacare that hide the real cost. Yeah. I don't know what the numbers are off the top of my head, but essentially, if you make less than $100,000 this year, or per year, I should say, you're getting some sort of subsidy from the government for your health insurance. That's pretty much what it is. That's the federal government paying for a majority of your healthcare insurance, or in some cases, a majority is probably a better way of putting that. And it's only going up more and more. Why is it going up? Because first of all, our all the hospitals who get hit with all these illegals, who do you think's paying for that? When they go in with no name and no insurance and get treatments, and they walk into the ER because they have a cold and they get antibiotics and all this other stuff, and then they bounce out. Guess how that money gets recovered? It doesn't just get eaten by the hospital. Don't work that way. If it did, a lot of hospitals would be gone. The federal government pays for it. You have all of these changes to the plans, which, again, Congress, both sides of the aisle, when they've controlled Congress, could have done something, but it's become almost like immigration laws where nobody wants to deal with it. Nobody wants to wear that albatross. If you're a Democrat, you have to admit it sucks and it needs changes. If you're a conservative, you have to risk taking it away and the political backlash for that. So they're not touching it. That's what it comes down to. It should be touched. And simple changes like breaking up some of these hospital groups that are just fucking enormous and all over the country and holding a monopoly on healthcare. I mean, look, Congress has broken up monopolies before. They passed rules. Congress is in charge of interstate commerce. A lot of people forget that. Right now, you can't, if you are a health insurance company in California, you cannot sell health insurance to Nevada and vice versa. And they do that on purpose because that way the more expensive states or the more wealthy states pay more for insurance, and they can screw them there. Don't get me wrong. It's the same healthcare company it is in Nevada as it is in California. But now, if you thin it out and you start bringing other people in the fold, those smaller companies in Nevada can now sell in California. Well, that forces the health insurance company in California, who charges more because they're based in California and they have a captive audience, they now have to start bringing their rates down a little bit to compete with that smaller health insurance company that could be based in Nevada. It's what they did with auto insurance. It's what they did with cable companies. Except, yes, auto insurance was ridiculously expensive. You don't have a right to drive. Like, it's not a constitutional thing. And, it just is what it is. Same thing with cable companies. But they said, no, you're too big. You're charging too much. You have too much of a hold on the market, and then other people can't get in. So that's exactly where healthcare companies are right now. And these hospital groups. You have Common Spirit, one of the biggest hospital organizations in the country. They own, I think, like 30% of the hospitals, some ridiculous number like that. That's a problem because now you don't have a choice of service. You don't have options, and they don't have any competition. Something's going to be done. Congress can do a lot. They're just refusing to take this on, each with their own reason why. But Obamacare is going to fall soon one way or the other. We're either, if the Democrats ever get power, they're going to force the single payer system through, socialized medicine. And then you're going to be waiting months. Look, I'm going to rant about socialized medicine for a second. Do you know the average ER wait in the UK? And I did a blurb on this on my X over the summer. So in larger metropolitan areas can be up to 24 hours. You go to the AR, unless you're dying on the floor, let's say you broke your arm or whatever, it's 24 hours. I'm not making that number up. That's the average wage cost estimate from the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK. You have the like issues, and I know he's not in the chat tonight, but if Canada Heavy Hauler was here, he'd be chiming up. In Canada, you want an MRI? Could be 3 months, could be 6 months. It's already 2 months here in California. That's how long I had to wait for my last MRI. I had to wait 2 months. And then I had to drive to some like an hour to get it. That's only going to get worse. Shortage of doctors in both countries. Oh, huge shortage. UK and Canada, because they pay shit. So doctors leave and go to places where they can get paid better. Can't blame them for that. I really can't. Go make what you're worth. But that's what will happen here. Lines at the ER is going to get longer. Doctors, if I need to see my primary, and the place I'm at's pretty decent. If I want to see my primary, 10 years ago, you could get it same day. They used to leave, and doctors will tell you this, they used to leave 15-minute gaps in their schedule through the day for appointments, for last-minute appointments, right? And the average doctor in your little healthcare center probably had, I don't know, 20, 30 patients they were responsible for. Now it's over 100. You're not getting the care. And this is before socialized medicine. You're not getting the care that you should be getting. They'll tell you that. They don't have the time to spend with you that they want to be able to spend with you. And most doctors are good people. You have shithead doctors that give shithead anything, but most doctors are good people. It's a health mail. The goal is to get you through the door. You can only deal with one issue now. So if you wait 2 months and you have like an ankle that hurts and like your back hurts and maybe you had like this growth that you need to have cut out of you and you're like, I'll just go all at once. No. I've been stopped when I've been like, yeah, on top of that too, I've been having an issue with my toe. I think I broke it. And he's like, that's it. I mean, if you need to go to urgent care, go to urgent care, but I can't really deal with that right now. Like we're only scheduled for this injury that you talked about when you first walked in. That's what we're getting now. Paying for Cadillac healthcare services, and that's what we're getting because of Obamacare, because of immigration, because of Democrats. And it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. So something's going to happen one way or the other, and that's coming to a head real fast, because the Democrats won't open the government without Obamacare being funded. Plain and simple. And it's not just me that's saying that.
You go to the third one. False claim number 3, Democrats are fighting for health care. You've heard this over and over and over. Let me say something very simply about this false claim. It is the Democrats who created Obamacare. It is the Democrats who did that without any Republican votes. It's the Democrats who, by extension, have cost the American taxpayers and people who have health insurance have made their costs skyrocket. It is their policies that made that happen. And so instead of reforming it, the Democrats don't reform Obamacare. They want to subsidize it. They want to spend more taxpayer dollars. That, by the way, goes mostly to insurance companies, which makes the cost rise further. That's the Democrats' plan. When they passed Obamacare in 2010, they called it the Affordable Care Act. We know the truth is exactly the opposite. By some estimates, premiums have risen 60%.
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your health plan, you can keep your health plan. It was all a lie. And us and others, KLRN and all the major conservative outlets, we were telling you. Straight up, we were telling you. Obamacare is a shit show. It was designed to implode. Plain and simple. It was always designed to implode. So that's going to be happening here shortly. I don't see the government open anytime soon. In the chat, Cosmic Bard said, my death this summer, he died. He's back, but he died. Cost him over $8,000. Awesome Joe in the chat. Hi. Nice to see you, Awesome Joe Gaiman. The Phantom. Oof. Oof indeed. So let's get away from politics because we all know the politics has been absolutely batshit crazy. Let's talk about some crime, because this one blew me away, but in a way that didn't exactly blow me away. Let's go down to Mississippi. Mississippi, where 20 police officers were arrested, and this from the Gateway Pundit, for working with the cartels. These are the two chiefs. There's one sheriff and one police chief. Sheriff Milton Gaston Sr. of Washington County on the left, Sheriff Bruce Williams of Humphreys County on the right were among the arrestees. The indictment dated November 1st charged 20 officers with aiding in drug smuggling. The operation ran nearly 4 years, over 400 kilograms of fentanyl and meth they moved. The accused provided escort routes and fake logs, and they're absolute shitbags. Look, said this before with my history being in law enforcement. I'm not the only one to say this. The only thing we hate more than criminals is shitty cops. Bad cops, lousy cops. And you start getting into some regions of these countries where people are just voted not because of their qualifications, but because of their personality. And maybe some other issues. This is what you get. Both the sheriffs, both were elected, so the people put them in that position. And they probably hired friends of theirs, or friends of theirs were already there and they got promoted over them, whatever. And you get this betrayal of trust. And this is what makes cops' jobs hard. Because no matter what somebody gets arrested for now in that area for the next year, the first thing that the arrestee is going to say, or on the list of many things, is, you're probably working with those cops who are blah, 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 and moving drugs for the cartel and all this other shit. It is awful. And I hope they absolutely throw the book at them. I hope they slam them. I hope they go away for a long ass time. And the South, man, the South has semi-infamous for this, because I can remember in the 90s out of New Orleans, there was a very similar case that the FBI had set up. A fake drug dealer, and the cops, were doing all this work, protecting their stash, helping move their stash or whatever. It's a weird thing that happens in the South. Really weird. And I don't know why. Maybe they got to figure that out. What's next? This is kind of funny. I know we talked about, I hope this plays. It's not playing. It gave me trouble earlier too. There was a Chiarelli there in New Jersey who's running for governor. He had an exchange with the reporter, and the reporter asked, Obama said that you were sucking up to Trump. Chiarelli says, who said that? And the reporter said, Obama. And Chiarelli goes, President who? And the reporter said, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's who Obama is now. President who? Rolling back through Virginia, talking about Obama. Ricky posted this. Talking about Obama going there for Spanberger and not Winsome after he tongue-lashed Democrats for not supporting a black woman under Kamala. And Ricky Robinson said, hey, look, Obama's rolling into Virginia like this. Yoo-hoo, boys, looky what I have here. Where all the white women at? One of the greatest movies of all times, by the way. I don't care what anyone says. Blazing Saddles. If you're a young person and you have not watched Blazing Saddles, I encourage you to watch Blazing Saddles. I implore you to watch Blazing Saddles, because it's one of the funniest fucking movies that you'll ever see in your life. We learned that the BBC did a documentary on Trump and edited one of Trump's speech to make it look like that he was demanding there be violence. And this is from the Telegraph. The Telegraph put together a piece on this, calling out the BBC. Look at how this was edited. Because if this doesn't cause you to hate media enough, and then I'll get into what happened last night with CBS, nothing will make you hate media more.
And I'll be there with you, and we fight We fight like hell.
But Trump didn't, in fact, say this at all. The BBC spliced together two clips that took place 54 minutes apart. So let's go through it again.
54 minutes apart. And they spliced two clips. When we talk about mainstream media, when we talk about the progressive left, and by the way, the BBC is just full of a progressive left. I mean, they're just run by the super left in the BBC. That's the bullshit that you get all the time. Look, even up until a couple months ago, the media was still pushing the very fine people hoax. Charlottesville. Oh, he said that the KKK members were very fine people. No, he was talking about the statue argument. And he said they were very fine people on both sides. Yada, yada, yada. But they still do it. And even when they get called out, that's what's amazing to me now. These media outlets get called out for this shit all the time because people have learned how to figure out to watch video. It's not hard. You can go on YouTube, whatever else, pull up a video, and a lot of people do it. And people still swallow the narratives right down. Going back to the young people again, I encourage you, do your own research on something. You know, we used to bring this up on Sackheads all the time, and I was reworking the About page on shrmedia.com, and I was going through the history of SHR Media, and I had a whole bunch of pictures, and it got me thinking back to the Sackhead days. You know, we used to encourage people to go to source documents. Don't go to a book that tells you what the source document said that was written by somebody who didn't like the source documents, which happens all the time. Go through the source documents. Go through the source of the information. Go to original videos. Go to original tweets, whatever you're trying to do the research yourself. Don't be lazy because the lazy get taken advantage of. Plain and simple. They get duped. The young people in this country, you're seeing right now, that generation who's 18 or maybe in their early 20s, 22 to 32, 33 right now. That was a generation of kids who were brainwashed and duped. The ones who are just, so super progressive left that, there's just no stopping them. That's what happens. Mike Pasquale, have a good night, evening, sir. Thank you very much. That's what happens when you're just fed a steady stream of lies and you're never shown the actual source document. You're raised with revisionist history, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But, ABC said, hey, BBC, I see your editing, and I raise you our editing. This is from the Trump interview 2 nights ago. The White House put this out. Watch the original on the left.
All we're saying, give us an extension. We'll work it out. They've lost their way. They become crazed lunatics. And all they have to do, Nora, is
This
say,
is what they aired.
Let's vote.
So Hakeem,
Senate Democrats say they will vote to reopen the government if Republicans agree to extend subsidies for over 20 million Americans who use Obamacare for their health insurance.
All we're saying, give us an extension. We'll work it out. They've lost their way. They become crazed lunatics. And all they have to do, Nora, is say, let's vote. And you can open, the economy could open up during our interview.
Is there something you can do, though? Is there something you can do to bring this to an end?
All I can do is give the facts. Here's what I can't do. I can't give them $1.5 trillion so that they can give welfare to people that came into our country illegally, so that prisoners and that people from mental institutions and people that are drug dealers get vast amounts of money for health care. That I can't do.
Yeah, plain and simple. A lot of crowd posted that, but that was the side-by-side. The White House released that video showing that CBS, yet again, edited in a way that made Democrats look good and tried to make Trump look bad. Simple fact of the matter is he said, yeah, sorry. There we go. He said, yeah, I'm not just going to throw away $1 trillion and we're not going to fund all these ridiculous things and we're not going to throw money down the toilet. Like, do the CR. And we'll figure out the rest. The CR is just the CR. It's at the spending levels we're at right now, as I said earlier. It will not be a change in anyone's pocketbook at the moment, and until they get to the next budget, and they won't get there because it will make them look bad. Folks, that's it for me. It was a quick hour. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Like I said, SHR Media, we've done a ton of work on. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go to shrmedia.com. You want to find out more about each individual show who I'm about to list, you can find that out. our affiliates page, our contributor page. You will see the Phantom in there, the Lost Wanderer. Our affiliate page, you'll see our friends over at KLRN under partners. You want to go see, I don't know, Mission Ready Menus on Tuesdays and Thursdays here on SHR Media at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. You can find out more about his show. You want to see, I don't know, Reaver of Common Sense, who's on Monday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. You can find out about his show. Maybe, just maybe, you want to find out about BZ, who's on, just saying, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, and Thursday night, same time. You can find out about him. And if you like this show, you can find out about my show Monday and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, right here on the Edge of Liberty. Appreciate it. And then Sundays, 5 p.m., I mentioned The Lost Wanderer. He does a great show that we're fortunate enough to air on our YouTube, SHR Media YouTube. Just go ahead over, and that's Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. I really appreciate it. Do me a favor, like the episode, subscribe to the channel from wherever you're watching from. It really does help us out. It does make quite the difference. I will see you on Wednesday night.